Welcome back. Today we're going to have a look at the dual SD card for the Z80 system. Finally got the SD card sockets in the post, and I've had a chance to put those on. So yeah, let's get into it and see if we can make it work. So first up, we'll just take a quick look at the card and see where we're at. So these are the SD card sockets in question. There's a few different variants that can fit on this card, but I'm using the FCI variant, and these jumpers here, they determine the mapping of the write protect pins and the card, I think it's not card select, the card inserted, I think, pins that come off these SD cards. It determines which pins map through to the rest of the circuit, because yeah, not all SD card sockets are created equal. Some have the pins in different positions. One of the traps here is right up the very end, and I'll put some close-up pictures of this over the top here in a minute, but this end pin, or it doesn't even look like a pin in the conventional sense, but it actually is, that's part of the write protect detection, so that actually does need to be soldered to the board. And in my case, I did need to bend it very slightly. The documentation warns you not to do that because it's part of the internal switch, but I seem to have got away with it. And over here we've got some empty sockets. No need to worry about those. I don't even know why I fitted a socket there. I knew they were supposed to be empty. There's no parts go there. And in the middle we've got the port address jumpers that maps where this card appears in the Z80's I/O space. I couldn't find anything in the documentation to describe how they should be set, so for now I've just copied basically what was in the photo of the designer's card on the website, and we'll see if we get away with that. Now, you've already seen me in previous videos build ROM images and download them to the processor card, so I'm not going to go through that again. But I will just quickly highlight the sections of the config file that I've adjusted. So I turned the SD enable to true, set the SD mode to DSD, which is the dual SD card. I've got one of those, and I think everything else is default. Eagle-eyed viewers might note that previously I had equates here, so .equ, and I've changed them to .set. That was a recommendation I found in the documentation. Apparently the equates are good for setting a value initially, whereas the set is what you use to update the value after it's already established. To be honest, I don't think it actually made any difference to what was being built, but the documentation said to do it, so I did it. So anyway, that's the config file, and as I say, I've already built it and transferred it onto the processor card. So the next step is going to be to put the card in and power it up and see what happens. So the machine's turned off, and we'll grab the card. I've already got the SD card inserted, and we will slide that in and push it home. So card is in, let's power it up and see what happens. Right, so we've got our SD card operating in dual SD mode, operating on port 8, one device. Whoops, I've got it set to auto boot into the Z system. And yeah, SD0, it's a 256 meg card, and it claims to be write protected. Interesting. Yep, and that would appear to be write protected. So let's just fix that. Right, now it's not write protected. Just put that card back in, and I'll just reboot the machine. Right, and now it's come up SD0, it's come up here, and it's no longer write protected. Sweet, so the write protection works. We inadvertently tested that. So because the card is 256 meg and CPM, I believe, has a limit of 8 megabytes per drive, the BIOS has split it up into 8 slices. I think it only supports 8 slices per card. So it's only going to use 64 megabytes of this card. And E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L will be 8 meg drives, I believe. So we'll clear the directory on E. See if this works. So R, D, F. This will do them all. Actually, no, I won't do them all. I'll just do the first couple. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. So on the A drive, yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff. Let's try copying this to, where was it? E. And we can see the activity LED flashing there on the card. That's this one just here. So that's a good sign. This might have been a whole lot less painful than I was expecting. After the RAM floppy card and the shenanigans I had there with the test software, I was expecting a bit of a fight with the dual SD card, but it appears it might just work. I'm not quite sure how the second slot works yet. I haven't got that far. I'm actually leaning towards thinking that it might not be that useful, the second slot, because CP/M will run out of drive letters to assign to the slices, because it only supports up to drive P, which is what, 16, I think? Yeah, something like 16 drives. So at 8 slices per SD card, it'd need all 16 drives just for the 2 SDs, and that doesn't leave anything for the ROM disk and the RAM floppy and hard drive that I might plug in. So I'm not sure that the second slot will end up being useful, but that's okay. I didn't really need 2 slots anyway. And this is still going. By modern standards, it's glacially slow, but it is just a little Z80. Nearly done though, I think. Well, it seems to be writing them and verifying them back okay, so that would imply it can read and write to the card okay. So E, stuff seems to be there, so let's see if we can go into basic. So we just loaded basic off the card, so that's all right. Whoops, system. Let's see, oh, it's not by RTC. Reboot. I don't really know why I did that actually. Because what I want to do is I want to power it off. And we will power it back on. We'll just make sure all the data we copy to the card is still there, that it is in fact non-volatile. It should be, right? It's an SD card. It's not a RAM floppy. Okay, so we go to drive E, where we copied the files to. Bingo. Go back into basic. Beautiful. So I think our dual SD card's actually working. Well, that was way easier than I was expecting. I really was expecting a fight after the RAM floppy card issues that I had. But yeah, so far so good. I'll probably take this machine back upstairs where it's been for the last week or so. I often have a play with it after work and just starting to slowly set a few things up and try and use it. But next cab off the rank is the VGA card that I've been building. It's got a couple of, where are those? There's one chip missing there, one missing there. There are a couple of PAL chips that I think I've managed to source the right ones that I can use there, and the CRTC, and I think I've managed to find some CRTC chips that I can use in there as well. So all going well, I'll get those PAL chips programmed up, drop a CRTC in, probably build a new BIOS, and yeah, and that'll all be in the next video. We'll see if we can get this thing going. So until then, if you like what you saw, feel free to tap that like button. It doesn't cost a cent, and it helps the mighty YouTube algorithm, helps it feed the video to other people so they can enjoy it. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers.